We have a little bit more to do on the lantern in terms of the modeling, and this is what we're going to end up with, all right? So let's just go ahead and do that in part 2 right now. So I'm going to hide the glass, and I've still got my 3D cursor right down there. Just some simple little things we're going to do. Let's say a cylinder with 16 vertices, and make a little cup or holder for the candle itself. Let's scale that in the Z. Do something like this, and then let's get rid of, no, let's just do this. Let's just I to inset, do something like that, and Control E, bridge edge loops, and then we can just sort of push that down to there, maybe scale it in a bit, put the candle inside there. But before we do that, let's get rid of these bottom faces, 3 for face selection, and delete those. Take that, I'm going to push that down. I'm going to Alt-N, recalculate outside in case we need to. Shift-Alt and click these edges, and Control-B to bevel, and I'll put 3 segments in there. We'll shade smooth, and we'll see if that's smooth enough, and it probably is. Let's come over here and grab this color here. Control-C for that, and we're going to paste it. But we're also going to make this the metal material. In fact, I'm going to just join it to that. So we have the little candle holder there. And let's model a simple candle. Let's use a cylinder again. Let's go for something like 22 vertices and scale it down until it fits inside there. Something like this. And maybe we'll make it like a little bit taller. We'll do something like that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press 1 for vertex selection, and I'm going to select a vertex, maybe that one. Click this for proportional editing, and as I pull this down, you can see that circle. I can roll my mouse to increase or decrease that circle of influence, and I just want to do stuff like this and pull it down so that it looks like maybe it's melted a little bit. I don't have to do too much. 3 for face selection, select there, I to inset, let's pull that in, and then let's just press E to extrude and pull down, and maybe turn off proportional editing, scale in a little bit like that, and let's focus just on the candle with the slash key. Come under here and 3 for face selection and delete that face, and then let's come up here and bevel these, and even bevel this one here and shade smooth, and that's probably going to be okay. And if there are some shading problems, we could come over here. Let's try a weighted normal and normal's auto smooth, and that's going to be okay. Slash key to bring that back for what we want to do. And we're going to take this, and I'll come in here and I'll give it a sort of an orangey color just for the viewport shading. And we're actually going to give this its own material though. So come up here and call this candle. And then let's make a wick of some sort. So I'm going to use a cylinder, and I'm going to use like 14 vertices. I don't need any n-gons or anything, so it's open at the top and the bottom. Scale it down, bring it in. We're going to scale this pretty small. Period key to zoom in on that, and push it down. Maybe we'll make it a bit taller. Scale, Shift Z. I can scale it without going into the Z axis. Let's shade smooth that, and I'm going to put this is going to just be black. Okay, I'll just make a new material. I'll call this black, and it's going to be, that's what it's roughly going to be. But we can put on for now, if we want, in terms of colors, that black color there. That'll just be black. In fact, it may not even show. All right, I'm going to select that and Shift S cursor to select it to bring the 3D cursor there. And I'm going to create a flame actually in geometry. I'm going to use a UV sphere, and I'm going to make it 10 by 10 and scale it down like this, and then I'm going to, in 1 vertex selection, select that vertex and come back to proportional editing and pull and just kind of get this teardrop shape and scale and pull. Take the whole thing, turn that off for now, scale it in the Y, or even if it's on, it's really not that bad. And that's essentially the shape that I want to go for right there. If you want, you can take that top point there and you can pull it over, you know, and you can rotate and, you know, do different shapes like that. So let's just say we leave it like that. And that's going to be okay. Let's just make sure everybody is, yeah, okay. All right, so I can, now that I see the flame, I can scale Shift Z to make that, just turn that off once in a while, make that even smaller, if it's even visible. Now that's going to be the flame. Let's make a new material for that. Okay, and if I want, I'm not going to worry about any of that right now, but yeah, I'll just leave it as white. All right, so we have the little dish, we have a candle, we have that. If I bring back the glass, you can see it inside. Maybe we want it a little taller, I don't know. So let's grab this and this and this, and let's, maybe we'll pull that up. Let's see what that's going to look like there. I think that's probably good enough for what we want to do. All right, so this is the setup that we're going to have. We're going to have a camera. I'm going to put in some HDRI environment lighting. That'll really cast this, some of this light here. And we're going to have an area light over here. And we're going to have a couple of point lights. And this UV sphere, you see, this bigger one here, is a principal volume. And that's going to create this kind of glow around the candle. So this is just the way that I do mine. You can see that this is a real wick or flame, sorry, and that's just the way that I choose to do some of these things. All right, so we're going to set some of that up. So let's do that. Let's just look from the front for now, and Shift A, bring in a camera, and then press Control Alt 0 to look through the camera. Press N. And choose view and lock camera to view and to close that. And then I can now sort of frame up my shot. And I'm going to be doing this in Eevee, not in cycles. So I'm going to have this on the render engine Eevee. I'm going to switch my render to about 150 for now. And I'm going to turn on ambient occlusion, but I'm going to change this to 2. And I'm going to change this to 1. I just want more of that. And let's go into here. You can, I don't know how well you can see any of that, but I'm going to turn on bloom, and I'm going to turn on screen space reflections, open this up, turn on refraction, and turn off half res. All right, so I don't really need that. And in the output size, I'm going to do probably 1024 by whatever it leaves it at, and that's going to be fine, and that's going to be my render there. And I may not get the hook in there, but I might. All right, so I'm just moving the camera around to probably something like that. Be similar to this shot here. Okay, so far so good. So let's go out of the camera. Let's make sure we're saving, and let's hide that, and let's bring in a point light. So this is my first light, my point light there. Now, I'll come down to the light. I can change the size of it, so I might increase it. I'm going to make it sort of a yellowish orange, and I'm going to set it at about 35. I'm going to come over here and turn on the scene lights, so we sort of see it there. And I'm going to duplicate that down and then put it below. Now, it depends where you hang your lantern. Sometimes you want it to cast light on the wall, or below it or above it, and that's just what I'm going to do right there. That's what I want to do. Let's get these materials going. I'm not going to use anything crazy for this. I'm going to make this a black kind of color, and I'm going to decrease the roughness a little bit. I'll bring the metallic up because this would be a metal, and I'm thinking of just doing a nice bold black color like that for that. Okay, and the candle, we're on the candle material, we're going to make it sort of a yellowish orange color. a little less rough, something like that. But I'm also, let's go over to the shading tab actually. I'm also going to add a little bit of subsurf on this. So maybe this could be a little bit more yellow. And down here, I'm going to choose a subsurface color. That's sort of the inside color. I'm going to make it sort of a orangey red. Let's try that. And then just start pulling this up. And you'll start to see, like under your skin, the way you can see sort of a reddish tint from your blood vessels. You can start to see that sort of underneath there. So that's probably good enough for what I want to do. All right. Let's choose the candle flame, and in the materials here, it's a little bit easier. I'm just going to switch this to emission, and let's just throw an emission on for the moment. So there it is. I'm going to add a color ramp, converter color ramp on here, and put the color into there. I'm going to squeeze these in. And let's try some different colors for this. And we should be able to get a bit of a tinge on the outside. Now, let's go have a look at the colors I'm using here. I've got a light sort of yellowish beige and a salmon kind of color there. So let's actually replicate that. So a beige kind of color here. Where is that? Something like that. And then a pinky salmon kind of color. Where is that? And watch as I move this. I don't know how well you can tell. You may be able to see it better in render. There's a slight glow around there. All right, let's see what I like to set my strength at. Okay. Set it at 10. Okay, and how's the wick doing? It's just showing up as black. That's fine. Whether or not you even really need that or not. Okay, let's save that so far. Let's do the principled volume. So I'm going to bring in a UV sphere, and we'll make it just 10 by 10. I might scale it down. Let's go back to layout. And this one, you just have to figure out where you want to place it to do the job. So I'm going to come back to the shading tab, and this is going to be this, I'll just call this volume. And I want to switch this, Shift-S to switch it to principled volume. And that's going to connect there. And then let's go have a look at some values that I've got, and I like to use the same ones. So let's come over here. This is my principled volume here. So I've got yellow and black and the density of 0.1. So let's do that. Kind of like the candle flame. The density of this is 0.1. I think we're going to need to go into rendered view. And we'll also change the anisotropy to minus 0.18. Minus 0.18. We got black, emission color, black body, and this is what we need here. And we need to pull this down to volume. And that is going to create the glow. Now, sometimes you'll see the outline of this, and you'll have to adjust the size of it and the angle of the camera, but that will help. I'm going to bring the glass back and save. And let's work on the glass next. All right, let's do the glass. All right, for my glass, I want to do it this way. So I'm going to have my principled BSDF, and all I'm going to do here really is adjust the roughness. I'm going to bring that into a mix shader with transparent. So let's go ahead and get that going on. All right, so let's lower the roughness of the glass down to something like that. Let's add a shader, mix shader. Let's drop in a transparent shader. Put that in there. We're starting to get something. I'm going to leave that as white, and this part is optional, some noise on the glass, but that's why I had this here. But one thing we will need to do is to come over here on the glass material, switch this blend mode to alpha blend. And now we're starting to see through our glass, but we're also seeing these circles, which are like the reflections of the light. So what I'm going to do is I don't want that. I'm going to select the light if I can, or I'll select it over here. There it is. And watch as I adjust the specular. I'm going to drag it down to 0. That disappears. I also want to put on in here, I want to put on contact shadows. And this one's probably not going to do any reflection, but I'm going to do that as well on contact shadows. Okay, so far so good. Okay, so we need to do some more work on the glass itself. Let's just see where I have my, where I have this. Okay, white, and that, and that. And then, yeah, we can do this stuff in the top. That'll help with the glass as well. So let's try bringing in a normal or a noise texture. Let's just bring in a noise texture and put it into a color ramp. And we'll just drag that down into the FAC. Give that a second. There, you can start to see some cloudiness on the glass. If I hold down Shift Control and click there, I can see just the effects of the color ramp and the noise. And I want to do this. I want it to be more distinct. And let's check out the settings that I decided to use. So I'll use this one here. So I've got 3.7, a little bit of detail, not very much actually. Roughness is this like the same, and a bit of distortion. So 3.7 and 2, let's go with that. 3.7 and 2, and I think this was up at, what was it, 2? 0.7, actually quite a bit of distortion on this one in order to get it. Okay, that's why. All right, let's leave that at 0 for the moment and just have a look at that. I'm going to shift and click there. So back to some noise on the glass itself. All right, we'll go on and let's add the second noise. I want to break up that noise. So I'm going to connect that to that. And then I'm going to press Control T on this one after that loads. And I'm going to come out of, what do I want to come out of? I'm going to come out of Object. And this noise is going to break up the other noise. So let's go back here now. After that all loads and get in the values that I want to have. I've got 0.8 and I've got detail. All right, so let's do that. 0.8, so quite large noise, detail, 0.5 and 0.6. All right, so I've got some of that going on, and then I've got this and this distortion over here. I had 0.7. Okay, to get this wispy kind of a look. And my color ramp is set at, okay, I've got black right down the end there. So let's do that. There we go. So we don't get too much of this, just something like that. Okay, and you can adjust as much as you want for that. Just to have a little bit of it there. And what I thought would look neat is plugging that also into some bump. So let me grab all of this stuff and pull it back here and put on a vector bump down here. And just want to double check that I'm coming out of just the noise, actually, not the color ramp. And I came out of the FAC, actually, of this one into the height, and from normal to normal. You may or may not like this effect, but we'll give it a try. All right, I'm just going back and I'm double checking some values, 0.8, 8.2. Let's increase the detail of that. .5, 0.6, 0.5, 0.7, 0.5.6, 0.5.7. Good. And just a little bit of detail, 3.7. Okay, I'm coming out of object, so everything looks good. All right, cool. All right, let's go back here, and now let's add another light here, maybe an area, not a spotlight. We'll change that to area, and I'm just going to move it over here, scale it up. R to rotate, look from the top, and I'm going to put it, I think I'm going to put it here, and I'm going to have this as a, let's try a bluish light at 40, and we'll see. And let's turn on scene world just to get a sense of this. Actually, I'm going to go up to 80. Right. What we still need is an environment. So I'm going to come over here on the world tab, color, environment texture, and let's open an HDRI. These you just download from HDR Haven or something. I'm going to use this one called Cape Hill. And I don't want it to show in the background. So I'm going to come to here, scroll down to film and click on transparent. And then when I go into rendered view, I won't see it. Let's look at the camera. And this might be, well, we could give this a try. So let's try a quick render. Again, I'm in Eevee, and I'm set up pretty much for everything. So let's try it. All right, so far so good. I think I might consider reducing this a little bit. Drag this over here, just the tiniest bit of something on there. And we also need, what am I missing? We're going to come into the compositor, click use nodes, N to close this and pull this down, and I'm going to click there and G to drag it over. And I'm going to add a viewer node. I don't know why, I don't particularly need it, but output viewer, put that down, drag this into there so we can see our image in the background, our last render. Press shift and right mouse button to drag through, and then G just to join those, move them out of the way. Shift A, and we want filter glare. I'm going to drop that on there, and we can see the effect on there. I guess that's why we wanted that. I'm going to change that to fog glow. So now we have our sort of bloom, and I'll come back to here and just get in a position that we like. Press F12, and this is the render that we're coming up with a little bit of light on the front, some backlight from that thing, and our candle. You can adjust that wick if you want, or that flame, make it look a little different. It's not completely realistic, but you know, we're not doing that. Just before I post-process this, there's one more thing that I wanted to do real quick that was bothering me. I'm going to come in here in 3 face selection, Shift Alt and click there, and there, and just where we have this long space there, and there, and there, just all of those. And I'm going to press E and Alt S and push, just to make them come out. And then I'll come in and just to make it a little bit easier to see. There. In 2 edge selection, I'm going to select all these outer edges just to look a little bit more like a chain. maybe it'll catch a bit of light and create a little bit more interest on there. So just those there. Control B, pull, and I want 3 in there. And the one last thing we'll need to do is add some edge loops underneath and above those pieces we just extruded out. So we'll do this, and then we'll do a render, and I'll just double check that I've done everything I needed to do, and then I'll just show you a little bit of my post-processing to finalize the image, and then you can do your own thing, whether it's in Gimp or in Photoshop. All right, you see that? Now, of course, you could come in here and select a bit, Control L, look from the front, and rotate Z, you know, just to have them a little bit off. Rotate Z. You don't have to do every one. I don't know if that creates a bit more interest. I think we're okay. Let's see how close we are to the original angle. I'm a little bit from the bottom, actually. A bit more like that. Let's try that and see if we like that better. Yeah, okay. Okay, we can see those little notches in the chain, and it's not quite straight. All right, let's say we like that. I'm going to save that now. I'll just do save as. I'll click 16, lower compression, and we'll call this lantern render PNG. We'll save it, close that, make sure that's saved. I'm just going to minimize that, and all these things. And I'm going to open that in Gimp. So where is that lantern? Where is it? There it is. Open in Gimp. There it is. All right, and to finish this off, I would do unsharp mask. I'm just going to add a preset that I have, which is just not very much sharpening, just a little bit. I like to then come to color balance, and depending on the scene, I'm going to bring it a little bit more towards cyan, a little bit more towards yellow. And I like to also add curves, and I just around the upper part, just up a bit, and lower part down a bit, and that's a curve like that. I'm going to export this as a JPEG. It's going to be lossy because I'm going to open it up again, but I'm not too worried about that. That's going to give me the black background there. And so where is it? So here's what I've got here. And okay, that's the image we just created. I'm going to do a little bit more. Let's get rid of all these things. And I'm going to use some photography software, but filters. And so feel free to play around. If you've got Photoshop or something else, by all means, you should try that. All right, I'm just going to crop this a little bit. I mean, that would be our final image, but I'll do a little bit of stuff, and we'll see if it improves it at all, if we like it. I'm just going to crop it like that. I'm going to add some effects here. This one. And I will add, and that may not be the best angle or anything, but I will add a little bit of this one here. That candle is a little bit too shiny for my liking, but whatever. We'll try, I already did that, maybe a little bit of this, but not too much. So you can see the glow there. And I'll come back to here. That's just, all right. Basic adjustment. Maybe I'll up the exposure a bit and the clarity. Make it a bit darker, but increase that. And that's good enough. Let's export that and say we were done with that, and let's have a look at it. Okay, so Lantern Render Studio. And this other stuff is popping up. Get everything out of there, including that. All right, so there is our render. That's 100% right there. So whether or not you like the noise on there, I'm not sure, but that is the render that we end up with. And that's basically how I do my lighting All right, I've got a point light in there. I've got the principal volume, and usually an emission, and I've got light above and below, and off to the sides and stuff like that. So anyhow, if you do this, I hope you get a nice result. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.